Good evening. I'm John. Welcome back to day 5 of RPG A Day 2024. Today we're looking at the prompt of a game with good writing. And as my friend Fry pointed out over on his TikTok video for today, this question has two forms when it comes to RPGs. We can talk about technical writing and then the nuts and bolts of the game, how the game is played, how to run the game, and then flavor, the setting books, the fluff, the feel, or as I said in my Delta Green, when I was gushing about Delta Green's art, the vibe of the game. So with that, I have two games to talk about. First up, for technical writing, I'm going to give it to Star Wars D6. I picked this up a couple years ago, really cheap on eBay, actually during a game that my buddy Fry was running, because I wanted to learn, I wanted to read more of the original text of the game. And really what sold it for me was Chapter 2 on game mastering, and that's the thing, it's another thing. Chapter 2 is the game master's chapter. Like this right here, this is pretty much all player character stuff, wild stuff. You don't really see that a lot anymore. But the chapter itself, instead of reading it through, it really breaks down the roles of your game master, what your job is. You're a referee, you're the boss, be fair, be challenging. You're a storyteller. Tell a good story, making characters important. Keep it fast. Talks a little bit about the illusion of free will. A little bit about improvising. Another thing is I love that it just kind of it starts off as it starts off very very nice. Like it starts off here it is. So you're considering being the game master for your friends. Now you want to know, what have I gotten myself into? While it may sound like game mastering is a hard job, if you remember the basics outlined in this chapter, you'll do just fine. And I love that reassurance. A lot of this chapter is reasserting a new game master who might be hesitant. Because what if I screw it up? What if it's a total party kill? What if this? What if that? And it's just breathe, calm down. You'll do just fine. So right off the bat, it kind of hits that. So much of game master advice is sometimes not really advice, while other times it's more about the procedures of the game, like random encounters and stuff. But this kind of just relax. Here, let's talk about how to make a fun story with your friends. And it just does such a great job of kind of doing that and then tying it once again into the Star Wars setting of, okay, this is how you run a Star Wars game or a space opera game. It does a really good job. What really sold it to me was they have a section here literally called Time Out, which is, we've all been there in games where it's, you need to just calm down and just, hey guys, I need to figure this out. Go sit in the other room and watch TV or something, or, I need to figure something out. And it says that's okay. And I love that. Because being a game master, for as long as I have, there are pitfalls, there are headaches, there are struggles. And this chapter, after I read it, I was like, where was this 14 years ago? Like why didn't I read this sooner? Like, why didn't I why didn't this come into my life sooner and for me to read it? So yeah, for technical good writing, I'm going to give it to Star Wars D6. Just for that Game Master chapter. I think any Game Master, no matter what game you run, get a copy of this book or find it online. Chapter 2 of this book will help you as a Game Master. Now, part 2 of this video, the flavor, the setting. Meat, meat and potatoes are fine. That's how we run the game. But let's talk about, the fluff of, the more interesting parts of the role-playing game. There aren't just kind of, procedure. For that, I'm going to give it to Harlem Unbound. Harlem Unbound, this is yes, it's a setting for Call of Cthulhu, but really Harlem Unbound is its own game. And I say that because Harlem Unbound, written by Chris Spivey, this is the second edition, came out, I think, Gen Con 2020, I think, 2020 this came out. As the second edition. There's a first edition that came out earlier. But this is the most up-to-date and in-print version. And why I say it's its own game is Harlem Unbound. Chris Spivey is an author of color. And he wrote this game to be very much immigrant and person of color forward. So if you play in a Call of Cthulhu game where you want to deal with the themes of being a person of color and dealing with, or an immigrant, and dealing with those historic injustices, racism, sexism, misogyny, all these things, in 1920s, 1930s America, this book gets it. Like, this book really does help you. It's got some great technical things and some great mechanics, but it sets up the world of Harlem. Harlem of the 1920s, all the people you meet there. This is the Harlem of the Harlem Renaissance. Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Louis Armstrong, Cab Calloway, all of them. And it paints the picture of the town, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book, and it gives great advice for running games in historical periods and dealing with those historic injustices. And I also love this book because what always gravitated towards me to Call of Cthulhu type games was the idea that I'm running a historical period. I'm running a game in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, Victorian England. And the thing, as someone who, I have a degree in history and I teach history, and I care deeply about history and deeply about what stories we tell, and making sure everyone's represented in our history. This really gave me a good guideline of how to do it in my games. Because I I always have a concern about period games of, well, if you're just going to kind of, colorblind cast it, which you can do, it's valid. But if you're just going to do it, why not run it in a different era? Why do you have to run it in the 1920s and basically make it cosplay? That's just me. That's a personal thing. That's a personal preference, probably because I'm an academic. But and plus, it also, this coincides with Lovecraft Country, the show and the book, or Ring Shout, Ballad of Black Tom, all these, things about people of color in the Cthulhu mythos, investigating these horrors, and dealing with not just the, tentacle monster, but also dealing with the monster of racism in the world. And that, beautiful stuff for horror, beautiful stuff for storytelling and history. So, there you guys go. 2 games with great writing. Star Wars D6 for technical writing. This Game Master Chapter 2, amazing. Really changed how I kind of been approaching stuff. And Harlem Unbound for fluff. Anyway, as always, I'm John, and I'll catch you tomorrow for tomorrow's video.